Hey, how is everybody today? It's kind of nice out in Minnesota. You know how it is towards the tail end of summer. It's still nice, but you can kind of feel that looming. It's going to get snowy. Sorry to even mention that. I want to talk to you today about how to be a badass with nutrition. Okay. So I think that's always for people that I'm going to open up to you kind of thing. For me, I see that with clients all the time. I'll let you kick my ass in a workout. I'll commit to, doing tons of cardio. I'll starve myself. I'll, do all these things within my control, lower maybe portions. But just don't know if I can be a badass around nutrition. If you ask me to eat fish and rice and broccoli, every time, I already am like putting my hand up. I'm not going to do it. And so that's what I want to talk to you today about, because food is such a journey, and it has, been a journey for me in my own personal life. So I want to take you back a little bit on that journey. And when I was a teenager, I struggled with, I wasn't quite anorexic to a point where it was controlling my life, but it was definitely part of a journey for me and a piece of my teenager existence. I probably had every dysfunction there was known to man. When I was a teenager, my parents, strong people. I was definitely a strong-willed person like I am now, and I had ideas. And so one thing I found that worked, I never liked my legs. And so I always was short, and so I felt like my legs were pretty thick. And I actually had a friend who was a gymnast, and she was taller than me a little bit, and then she also had very long legs. And so I remember wanting to have her legs and have her body type, and I weighed probably like 145 at that time. So I was a little bit overweight. I'd gotten chubby. My eating habits weren't the best. I wasn't moving as much in ninth grade. And I remember these boys at lunch were laughing and making fun of me once I said that I was 125, because I lied, of course. And after that, I was like, oh my gosh, they think I'm fat. And I got to lose weight. And so it was kind of weird, because it wasn't like I was thinking that much about it before that. But then after that happened, I became really aware of what I was eating and that I needed to lose weight and that things, had to change. And so it became like this obsession. And so this was like when Slim Fast was around. And so picture me, I'm in ninth grade. I've got my first job, and so I'm working this job, and there's, cute little waitresses and stuff. I worked at a Arnold's like burger place. And anyway, I started doing Slim Fast because I wanted to see if that would work. And so I'm pretty disciplined when I pull it out. So like I would have my shake in the morning, shake for lunch. And then after that, I would have a sensible dinner. So it actually worked quite well for me. If in the sense of what I was going for. I did lose like 20 pounds. And what was kind of interesting to me, I got down to the 125 that I lied that I said I was. And then I got down to 115. And then I got down to 100 because this was fun. I was getting attention. It was working. It was really easy. I was like, okay, fine. I'll have my shake. I'll have my, I had another shake and then piece pizza for dinner and then do it again the next day. This isn't so bad. But I didn't realize I was really, getting myself into an eating disorder. And then people around me were commenting like, Andrea, wow, you look so good. And oh, look at, you've lost a lot of weight. I never wanted to say anything, but it did look like you were gaining weight. And so I felt kind of mad. Like, I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but I was kind of pissed. Like, okay, so you didn't like the way I looked before, it really never occurred to me that I had an issue with my body. And so it kind of created this issue with my body. So I did become, probably for the next 3 to 5 years, I would eat very lightly during the morning time and then I would eat at night, so it was like an anorexic thing. I even had a couple days where I was like, well, if I can go one day without food, I could probably lose a lot more weight faster. And so I would not eat for the whole entire day and then the next day, and then I would eat something. So not healthy at all. I got down to 100 pounds when I was 16. And so for me, it was like my clavicles were gaping out. It was, people were starting to like, I don't know if that's really good for you kind of thing. So I didn't go on forever. I did catch it after a while. I gained, back to 118 pounds within the next 2 years after that 100-pound, just because my body just started gaining again and I was eating and functional. But that kind of brought me into the fitness realm where I could find that I could, get muscle tone and things by doing strength training in my early 20s. I found that out. But I just want to kind of hit back on food. It was always an issue or a soul thing for me, okay? Because like food was an exciting thing in our family. When my dad went grocery shopping, on Saturdays, my dad always did the grocery shopping. I was like, ooh, what'd you buy, Dad? Like, let's eat it all. It was all girls in my family, so we were like into pickles and Doritos and, stuff like that. And so there was a huge soul connection. A lot of times when I saw my dad, he would be making steak and, things on Sunday, like we'd have our family meals and, he had to eat and clean up and all that good stuff. So food becomes a part of who we are. And so when you hit 20, 30, maybe you get a weight problem, and then somebody comes in and gives you this meal plan. I remember reading the ones in the magazines, like back in Elle and like Shape magazine when I was a kid and like I was 17, 18, like, oh my gosh, I couldn't eat fish and rice and broccoli every single day, like I know that I can't follow this. And so it was already like this blaring issue. So I would rather starve than eat the fish, the broccoli, and the rice because I had no idea what that would actually be like. But I think that we have so many stories on what types of foods we're not going to allow in our life and, what we can and can't do, that it shapes who we are, in the future. Hey, Tina, how are you? It's nice to have someone joining. I've been talking about food and, our souls around food and how it's such a big part of our life. And it's probably the toughest part. Like I can kick someone's ass into the ground in a workout and they have no problem with it. But when I ask them to stop eating donuts or to eat rice and broccoli and tilapia for many days on end, I get a no. And so I'm kind of explaining the science behind it. And myself, I had anorexia issues when I was a teenager. And then I tried to be bulimic, so I didn't even talk about that. But I couldn't make myself throw up. So TMI, but I'm just really trying to be open with you guys. And so it didn't work for me. So I would kind of like starve and then binge and starve and binge. And so it was always like these unhealthy foods, diet sodas, pretty much the picture of unhealth, but I didn't care because my body looked skinny. So I had to do a lot of soul repair from that time forward. And so I remember being in my 20s, like 25-ish, and I worked out at that point. I had 2 babies, about to have my third. I thought I was very healthy eating, but this is what it looked like. It was eat healthy Monday, which is Kashi cereal, maybe a sandwich, yogurt, fruit, and then spaghetti for dinner. Okay, so that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Thursday, it's like, oh, we're having nachos before bed. I'm having chicken wings, and then it was like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'd go to family events. I'd do, social engagements. And then it was like a free for all for food. And then I'd wonder like, well, gosh, I'm stuck at, this certain weight. I look good, but I want to lose. Why aren't I? Because I'm eating healthy Monday through Thursday. But what it was this merry-go-round of food. And then I had my cholesterol checked at that point, and it was high. And so I was like naturally prone to have high cholesterol. So they gave me a low-fat diet. So low-fat diet means high sugar, which I don't know why the doctors were advocating for that at that time. It's weird, but I tried a low-fat diet. For my body, it went the opposite direction. You could eat as much as you wanted. I was eating pretzels. I made vegan lasagna. I would prep my food for a week. I was hoping like I was going to lose weight. Well, and actually gained 6 pounds in like 2 weeks. So, and I was so hungry. I had no protein in my diet, minimal amounts, and I felt horrible. So it really wasn't until I got into my 30s and I started bodybuilding. I did my first competition that I realized how unhealthy I was eating. And so it was freeing for me actually to eat carbohydrates. Like I could eat oatmeal, she said. This was my trainer. She said, you can eat oatmeal, you can eat potatoes. You just need to keep within this carb count, and then protein, and then keep your fats, minimal, and no sugar. And so I'm to this day, it's the sugar. It's the sugar that keeps me lean. I don't eat a high sugar diet. I'm not going to lie though, that 12 weeks, 16 weeks from time to prep and not eating any sugar, like it was not allowed whatsoever, was hard. I found myself walking through the grocery aisles at the supermarket, and looking into the baked goods and looking at the frozen pies and staring at the pizza, because you don't realize how unhealthy and how many things that you eat like that until you completely take it away. So I do recommend, trying that, like giving yourself like 4 weeks to cut out all processed foods, cut out, any type of sugars, because you will kind of go through this craving thing and then it'll stop. It'll get mellower and you'll find ways to cope. Like I loved looking at the grocery market, get foods, and they'd ask me, "Do you want me to get you that cupcake that you're staring at, lady? Crazy lady." No, no, I'm just looking, thanks. It was kind of a funny, I can laugh about it now, but I literally had times where, Easter came along those 16 weeks and we had jelly beans. And for some reason that was really hard for me. I didn't realize I liked jelly beans that much. Found them in my mouth, had to spit them in the trash. I mean, it was definitely an addiction that I had no awareness around. I thought I was a fairly healthy eater. My body was in good shape, but it wasn't until after that show that I really realized how much I was eating. And so afterwards, that was another journey. I had to learn how to eat moderate amounts of sugar and healthy. And so I kind of came full circle then. But I did have my cholesterol checked after that. And I had had high cholesterol for a good 5 years, and nothing helped it until I did that competition, and it went from 230 down to 175. So that was the biggest defining factor for me. I was like, wow, it is totally sugar that is doing this. And so when I want to lean out now, I know that I can just cut out sugar. But it is a soul thing. You feel like you're, letting someone down when you go out to eat, like my dad, and he'd want, "Oh, here's pizza. I got you pizza. I did this." And so for me, I was just like, okay, like I felt bad to say, "No, Dad, I don't eat pizza anymore." And until I did the show, I wasn't able to do it. But I did. My dad and I had lunch dates. I said, "Nope, I'm not going to have pizza." I'd go out with friends. Larry and I would find date nights at like late night tea bars, or I learned how to order a Diet Coke when he's having a beer, because all of those things come into play. But once I showed myself that I was able to, I'm reading Tina's comment. Nutrition is so hard for me. I know, that's why I want to talk to you about it, because I do feel like that is the major, major problem, not just for you, Tina, for me, and for all of my clients that I've worked with. That's always like kind of that stopping point. Even for the girls that I've trained to do shows, and for my husband who has a hypothyroid, he worked out avidly, but he never saw the changes in his body because he wouldn't give up the yogurt and give up the bananas and just even the late night eating of, some chips. And I mean, we're not even talking about super unhealthy foods, but all of those things turn into sugar in our body. And so the more, though, the more I would say no to it and just continue, to tell myself like, nope, that doesn't really apply to who you are anymore. You're going to stick with this. At first, it was like crying tantrums and fits. But after a while, Tina, it does go away. And you start to go, you know what? I don't even feel that good when I eat that way, And so now I actually dread sugar. Like I get scared of, like you had that mocha shake, and I feel Like when I had that, I'd had such a crash and burn that I wouldn't even want to do it. But you know, it takes time. It's a journey. And so one way to get started on the journey is maybe give yourself a 3 week or a 1 month, just get rid of it. You know, you're not going to have it around. You're not going to have it in the house. You're not going to put yourself in situations where you're having it, any type of sugar, and just really try to stick with it and count your wins every day. Like when you stick to it, when you go to bed, I did really good, or I had less there, because though that's the things that's going to get you through, and that's how I've gotten through it. It's not just like I was like, well, I'm not going to have sugar anymore. Not at all. Like I'd have to look at the sugar, I'd almost eat the sugar, I'd spit the sugar out. I'd loathe myself in the morning after having chips and salsa when I promised I wasn't going to do that. So there was all sorts of, you know, failures, but those failures became successes as I was moving in small directions toward it. So that's why I'm talking about it though, because yeah, it's a part of food is who we are. And I think it's the toughest part, right? Because we have to eat. And like I said, like when I was anorexic, I didn't eat. So then I had control over my body, over food, all these things. So I thought, but I was actually really detrimental to my health and my overall mindset. I wasn't in a good place. It was a false sense of control. And so we do have choices and we do have control though. And I think it's, you know, coming back to figuring out what we really, really want. And then supporting each other in accountability groups like this, you know, like, hey, I didn't have sugar again today. All right. Like you need to hear those people who are also like just struggling as much as you are to, you know, not eat those processed foods and the sugar and to eat healthier. Because if your whole family life for 20 years you lived at home and some of those foods were unhealthy on a weekly basis, or you rewarded yourself with food, that's going to be so hard to come up against. You know, it's going to be a big change. And so it can be done. It absolutely can be done. I am a testimony to that. Like we didn't eat healthy at all. My dad was an alcoholic. My mom was severely overweight. And all she ever did was talk about how unhappy she was because she was overweight. And so as a kid, in a childlike mind, I was like, I never want to be overweight because I don't want to be like my mom. You know, I don't want to be unhappy like her. And so that connected for me. But as I got older, I realized that's not how life works. If you're skinny, your life is great, or you're happy, or that's not it at all. Like I know now that she had much deeper, you know, issues and things about her health and her body and the way she felt. And it's so much more complex. I wish it was that easy, because you can't just look good and life's good. But but for me, it was kind of connecting to that healthy place. You know, I needed to stop doing shows after a while. I didn't want to do those anymore. I just wanted to eat healthy. And then I started realizing that, you know, this is who I am. This is the new Andrea. This is who she is. She really likes to eat healthy, and less sugar really helps me to feel better. So and I actually don't even want it anymore. So I'm here to kind of say, I've been where you are. I've, you know, went through the struggles, the journeys. I've counted my wins on the way out, and it's been a number of years to get there. But I feel really good about where I am now. I don't really worry about being overweight anymore. I don't worry about that. When I see maybe the scale changing or life has gotten a little busy, when I'm coming away from being as lean as I want to be, I know the tools now to get myself back into place. And I believe that's who I am and that's what I'm going to do. So I do it, you know, and it's just super easy. And I love to teach other people how to do it. And so I think that mindset, though, is the biggest thing. That's why, you know, we can give food plans all day long. We can, you know, get people to work out and support them on it. But, you know, it's really like in those private times, those private soul moments with yourself when you're going to make that choice to stick with it or not. So hopefully this inspires, you know, you guys to, you know, continue on the journey and don't give up. You know, this can happen for you. This, you know, there's no time where it's just over, and, you know, every moment is a new moment. And so dwelling in the past isn't going to do it for you. And just kind of learning from the past and then telling yourself, you know what, the future is going to be this. Make sure it's going to happen and going forward with it. And so, yeah, I just want to hear your comments below. If you've made it through this whole video, I would love for you to, connect with me. Tell me how you feel about it. What are your struggles with food? I want to know. And I'm being as very open with you. I've had anorexia, bulimia, high cholesterol, food rewards for 3 or 4 days, and then eating healthy, all sorts of misconceptions about food to get to the point where I'm at now. Never point A to point B with any client I've ever worked with. This is the biggest struggle by far, but I love struggles, right? I don't even want to call it a struggle. Like, I love things that take a little more thought in life and a challenge. So I challenge you to challenge this in your life and make some big changes. And I feel very confident that you will. All right, like and share this. If you do, let me know that what you're struggling with. I want to know. I'm definitely here to be open and honest with you. Love you. Tina, it's so good to see you today. Have a great day.